Today, we are going to take a walk out to the tide pools and explore this interesting and unique habitat. The ocean is ever changing, and one of the ways that the ocean habitat changes is the tides. Responding to the moon's gravitational pull, the water levels at the coast change, sometimes being high and sometimes being low. This difference in the water level means that there's an ever-changing habitat for the animals that live here and a variety of stresses they need to adapt to. These changes include changes in salinity, or how much salt's in the water, how covered by water or dry the organism is, and what the temperature they're being subjected to is. When the tide is at its highest, most of the tide pool animals are covered by cold ocean water. On the beach, you may have washed up kelp or debris with animals such as sand fleas, or see the birds chasing the waves back and forth to gather creatures living under the sand. As the water first starts to recede as the tide goes out, the first animals to appear are the ones that are best adapted to being exposed to the air. They usually have shells to help keep them from drying out. Animals like barnacles have little doors they can shut. Other animals like limpets, which are a type of snail, will actually burrow a scar into the rock to seal themselves down to. Other small snails have a little door called an operculum, which they can use to seal their shell shut. When the tide is in, these animals will crawl along the rocks, grazing on the algae that grows there. As the tide goes further out, we start to see new animals left behind in the little pools of water. Hermit crabs take over the old shells left behind by snails. We may also see other types of crabs, like this kelp crab. Their hard shells help protect them against predators, and their pinchers can be used both for protection and to tear apart the food that they scavenge to eat. We may see anemones. If they are still in a pool of water, their tentacles will be out and waiting to help to catch prey. Exposed to the air, their tentacles fold in, and sometimes they are covered with debris like small rocks and shells. This helps provide them a bit of camouflage. As the tide goes further out, we start to find more and more animals. Beds of mussels become more and more visible. Mussels have hard shells that help protect them from the crashing waves. They also attach themselves to the rocks. Their bodies produce something called byssal threads, which anchor them to the rocks and help them avoid being washed out to sea. These chitons, which are mollusks, relatives of snails, anchor themselves to the rock flat and covered with shell plates. After a time, the water level has gone out even more, exposing more of the land. We see more species of seaweed, and we start to find colorful sea stars among the tidal pools. The further the water recedes, we see more and more of the life usually covered underwater. This comes with extra risk for many of these animals. Animals like fish may be stranded in tide pools and have to wait for the water to come back in to escape. Animals like this snowy egret come in and take advantage of the animals now accessible and exposed, and it will eat creatures stuck in the tide pools. As we can walk farther and farther out, we may start to see animals like seals sunning themselves on the rocks that are being exposed. If you visit this fascinating ecosystem of the tide pools, be careful where you step to avoid harming the animals that live there, and make sure animals stay in the pool you found them in. The salinity and temperature can vary between each of the pools, and moving an organism can harm or stress them. Leave things where you find them. Even empty shells are homes for animals such as hermit crabs. The ocean covers a large part of our planet Earth. I hope you get a chance to explore this fascinating place where the ocean and land meets at the tide pools. Happy nature and science exploring! I'd like to thank everyone for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.